Welcome to Breaking Solo, how solopreneurs break barriers, build brands, and embrace the future of business.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Breaking Solo. I'm very excited today. My guest is Chelsea Quint. Chelsea, thanks so much for being with us.
My absolute pleasure for being here. And my corgi also likes to make sure that she's included as I swear, I thought she was going to come in later, but now she wants to make sure that she's present as well. And she's very present in all of my business. And I honestly, I often like to name when my dog is barking in the background, or sometimes on a call, my husband will walk behind me. I like to name those things because those are the kind of things that made me so stressed when I first started my business. Like, I thought I would die and everyone would cancel me and think that I was a loser and I could never be hired because my dog barked. No, but seriously, like, my brain fully was locked in to what I had to have and the image I had to have, whatever. I was deeply locked into that for a long time. So I honestly, at this point, kind of love when my dog barks. And I'm like, well, podcast introduction. And of course, that's when she decides she's going to start singing her corgi song.
Okay, so tell the audience who you are and what you do.
Yes. So I am Chelsea Quint. I am also called the Business Whisperer. That is the name of my business. And I am an ex-corporate marketer. I started in the agency world. And then almost 10 years ago, pivoted into my first solopreneur career as a health coach, and pivoted from there. I mean, goodness, we could say a myriad of times, but these days I do sales messaging and sales strategy, done with you, done for you, and coaching work with small business owners, ranging from folks who are growing to their first six figures all the way up to folks who are growing from the 200-300K a year mark to making their first million. So that is what I do.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. So what was the turning point for you to commit to being a solopreneur?
So I honestly don't know that I fully had a choice. I think I was about 13 when I told my parents something to the effect of, you guys realize you've ruined me, because I learned that day at 13 that most people have 2 weeks vacation, and it's not even actually 14 days. It's 10 days. They're counting weekends. And as an angsty 13-year-old whose mom ran her own business and a nonprofit and whose dad was a college professor, I'm like, summers off, flexible time, flexible hours. That was my norm. That was what was modeled for me by my parents, even though they had somewhat more traditional careers than I do. So to some extent, it feels like the turning point was at 13, over 20 years ago. But in truth, I did negotiate, even when I worked at the agency, I did negotiate for certain degrees of flexibility. I did my best to fit the mold of my own freedom and flexibility inside of a more traditional job. I did my best when I was in my early 20s, and doing my dance in that world. But when I got to the point that I was directly reporting to the vice president and president of the company, that I realized two things. One, I'm going to have to be in this career for a really long time before I can grow anywhere, like at least in that agency. And I could have gone elsewhere. But I'm like, I'm going to have to be here a long time because these people aren't that much older than me. I'm going to have to do a lot of just doing the same thing. And that sounded quite boring. And then when I also looked at their day-to-day lives and how they measured success and just a lot of what their lives were, because I worked very closely with the VP and the president, I knew a lot about their lives professionally and personally. And I realized I don't want this, because in their lives, so much of it was like, let's get to the end of the day so we can then kind of party and forget. Agency life, there's a lot of partying in the agency world, in the marketing agency world. And that was, I was getting to the end of my days feeling empty, deflated, and just like I just wanted to numb, whether that was like with Netflix or my glass of wine or whatever. And I am like, I'm 25. This is a long time. I don't think I can do this. Simultaneous, I had started teaching yoga. I had done my yoga teacher training, had been practicing for many years, and I had started teaching yoga. And the difference between how I felt at the end of a work day at the agency that paid my bills and I'd negotiated my salary, and it was like I had a lot of bells and whistles for a 25-year-old. I traveled, I had airline status, I had all the sorts of, like, my job looked amazing, my life looked amazing.
All the stuff. Yeah.
I had all the bells and whistles. But the, $15 I got, $15 total that I got paid for a yoga class, I felt alive, energized, excited. I had ideas. I had so much life after teaching a class. And that balance of like, I'd have to get home on a Wednesday evening, go drag myself to the studio and be salty and bitter that I had to teach this stupid yoga class. Oh. And then by that evening, by 8 p.m., I felt incredible. And going through that dance enough times, I realized, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I got to do something else. And that was the start of the leap. That was the start of the jump.
Good for you. That's awesome. Sometimes we just have to learn our lessons, I guess, is a good way to like, I don't want to live like this. It's not good.
Honestly, some of the best advice my dad gave me in my early 20s when I was deciding whether to take this job or go to grad school or what to do was because I was debating what the heck, what do I want to do? I was trying to figure out the right thing to do as like a 22-year-old. I had no idea. There was no right thing. And the same is true when we are solopreneurs. I think I've given this advice to like all of my clients that the best thing to do is figure out things you don't want to do. And you're only going to do that by trying things. It takes a heck of a lot of tenacity and grit and support systems to be able to do that sustainably over time. But finding out what you don't want to do, whether you're in your 20s trying to figure it out in a regular job moment or in your early days of solopreneurship, figuring out what you don't want is essential. And I think makes it a lot easier to move forward when that's the goal instead of what do I want? Let me wait until I figure out the perfect thing.
Yeah.
Because you'll be waiting forever.
Yeah. There's no such thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you think's been your biggest challenge?
Too many ideas and like too many things, really. Having too many ideas and trying to execute them all at the same time, trying to do too many things inside of my business. Whether that meant running multiple offers, whether that means trying to be on too many different marketing platforms all at the same time, whether that means trying to learn too many different things at the same time, being in too many different courses or having too many different mentors. Ultimately, too much instead of focused, concerted effort consistently enough to gather data. I think that has been my biggest problem. And it's probably the biggest problem I see with clients too.
Yeah. Well, just the fact that someone wants to be a solopreneur, they have all of those things going through their head. We want to do it all. And typically we're learners. So we also want to learn it all.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of hurting ourselves because the hardest thing to
100%.
do is let go.
Right. Or just let go temporarily. That's the piece that I try to give all my clients and myself. Because I'm sitting right next to my bookcase, and genuinely, I'm like, I have books over here on the nervous system. I have studied how many different languages? Russian, Italian. I speak French fluently, Mandarin, Spanish. I think that's it in English. But I've got language books over here. I've got nervous system books. I've got fiction books. I'm a writer. I've written a book, a novel. I've got, what do I have over here? Economics books. I've got a bunch of spiritual books. I've studied Reiki. I've got Harvard Business Review. I've got Oracle decks. I've got yoga books because I'm a yoga teacher. Like, believe me, I get it. I get the desire. And like, I've launched group coaching and group courses and digital products. And I've held retreats and I've done masterminds. Like, I remind all of my clients, one, you can do it. There will be costs. My sanity was one of them at various points. But you can do it. You just can't do it without costs all at the same time. So I like to be like, let's decide that you're allowed to love the nervous system, love yoga, want to do all of these things. Like, let's put those over here. Some of those might just be hobbies. Like, you might just get to enjoy those for yourself. But let's focus on what are the 1 to 2 things that are going to most effectively get you closer to your business goals, your professional fulfillment goals, and your revenue goals. You know?
Yep.
And we try to
Good
focus
advice, lady. Good advice.
Easier said than done, I know, but I promise it will make your life better.
It's worth working towards, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe
So-
you start like 3 to 4 things. You could, you know,
Yeah.
edit with time.
Out of 6.
Yeah.
So what strategies do you use to stand out from your competition?
That's such a good question. I think I'm going to answer a question before the question first, because I feel like one of the first question is, how do you stand out from your competition? And I think with, especially in the age of AI and in the age, there is so much content churned out even before AI, and nowadays so much more. There's so
Right.
much more content that, you know, standing out from any pure strategy perspective is going to be just, or like if you're just going like pure messaging or pure strategy, it's going to be tough, because realistically, I mean, God, there are hundreds of thousands of messaging experts and people, you know, someone could hire to build out a sales campaign and the sales ecosystem, right? I have so much competition. And if I were to go a traditional like competitive set research strategy mode, I wouldn't even see any white space, because historically one of the great places to look at is, where is there white space? And today it's damn near impossible to even see white space, right? Like there's so many of us. There's so much noise. And so I think the way that I have come to stand out and what I like to help pull out from clients is identifying the things that are so unique to your brain, and you're rooted inside of your lived experience, your brain, all of the different unique subset of things that you've chosen to study or that you have learned through lived experience, figuring out a way that we can brand and package that, I think is really one of the only ways to actually stand out from competitors. Because I know it's kind of cheesy to be like, no one can be you. It's kind of cheesy, but from an actual straight strategy perspective, it's honestly deeply, deeply true. Because my unique experience, right? One of the ways that I've found this for myself is there are actually more and more people doing nervous system work and business work, like figuring out how to create the capacity to be seen and get more money and blah, 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 right? There's a lot of that. But there aren't as many people who have the additional layer of being actors, I've got an acting background, and being yoga teachers. It takes some work to be able to figure out, how do we connect without being messy? How do we connect messaging strategist who helps people make more sales with nervous system acting yoga? The answer is a lot of in just the way that I talk about things. Just before I jumped on, I was working on positioning for my one-on-one offer, which is called the empathy edge, right? the language we use is all of a sudden different, then it's immediately clear, like, what's the empathy edge? That doesn't necessarily sound like sales, but when we have the tagline, right? Like being able to find what are those unique lenses you bring to the table and weave them together into a cohesive story that actually makes sense and doesn't feel like you're a classic entrepreneur who's studied 800 different things. That plus remembering to be a human in sales and in business, especially in 2025 and beyond, because trust is one of the most valuable things that we can cultivate with an audience, if we want to stand out from our competitors, because it's a more and more skeptical world for consumers, understandably. So what is your unique angle, and build trust by being a human?
Yeah. Trust is probably the most important thing, because without it, your business is going to fail.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? What are some trends that you think solopreneurs should be paying attention to right now?
So paying attention to how people are not just buying, but how people are taking the first step toward building a relationship with a business. So we could also call that how people are doing their first, like how we're generating leads, right? So historically, it's been relatively easy, with an asterisk, but it's been relatively easy, 5 years ago and 10 years ago. We had a little bubble in 2019, but like 5-10 years ago, it's been relatively easy to like pop up a webinar and get traffic, especially if if you've got good copy and you can run ads to it, or you've got good organic content and can run ads to it. It's been, you can pop up a webinar or a masterclass or a workshop and run to it and sell from it. If you've got enough skill, like it's relatively easy to do. Oh, maybe not easy, simple, relatively simple to do. And you could honestly, especially 10 years ago, you could get away with kind of lackluster copy and messaging, even 5 years ago. You could kind of get away with a lack of creativity, a lack of looking at how do I really stand out? What is my unique way of thinking about things and delivering things? That, or like sign up for my lead magnet. Here's a PDF with the 3 steps to do blah, blah, blah inside of your niche. Or here's my free lead magnet that's a video, right? Like we had a lot of leniency from customers who were willing to give over their email addresses, right? That is less and less true. And even with like so many people now have a secondary email that is the only email they use to sign up for things, right? So they're not even getting your sales emails. So being really mindful of how are people signing up for things. And what I really recommend that people do with any kind of lead magnet or trying to generate new leads, sort of asset, I want you to think about, what can I create that is going to actually build trust quickly and be easy enough for people to access and consume that they actually will build trust with me. Private podcasts I'm pretty much like PDFs. You can create a PDF if you want to. And I don't do like black and white, all or nothing. So like sometimes PDFs might be a good use case, but I want you to be thinking about, like, does your ideal customer get to know you and your perspective and your tone of voice and how you carry yourself through a PDF? Is it an immersive experience? Does it give them enough experience of you and your work that they are even going to remember your name or the name of your business after they first receive it? Probably not, right? So I want to see, I'm obsessed with private podcasts. I think private podcasts as a lead magnet are brilliant, with like a few episodes, no more than 10 minutes, that they hear you. You don't have to be on camera. You can be like in sweats with your hair up. But they hear you. They feel you. And if you make it something they can take action on and experience a shift, trust, connection. There's something there. Or if you've got a PDF, give them an email, like give them, if you have a PDF or some kind of course, I want you to make sure that your emails are also giving them the information and the opportunity to learn, to experience, to build a connection with you, so that you're not wasting that initial moment of they decided they're interested enough in this scattered, overwhelming, deeply skeptical world. We've got to be able to be really smart and strategic there.
So true. So true. And audience, you need to, maybe rewind and listen to that again, because Chelsea's spot on. You really do have to put yourself out there and do things a little differently.
Mm-hmm. And don't be afraid to do something that you haven't seen done before. That's the other thing, because we're in an interesting season of solopreneur, small business owner, digital business owner. Like, we are in an interesting season of it, y'all. So just because you haven't seen something done doesn't mean it isn't a good idea. And if you can run it, test it, get the data and improve it, then it's at least worth a shot.
Absolutely. So I know a marketer that she's actually a business coach, but she forms local book clubs with women
Genius.
to build the relationship. She does not
Genius.
even approach anything about her business in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about building those relationships, which
Mm-hmm.
is so smart.
Yeah. Genius. Yeah. Yes. Love it.
Okay, so what's a tool, an app, a resource that you cannot live without?
I was hoping you would ask me this question. Notion, hands down. Do you know Notion?
I do.
I mean, there are so many. I am a tech nerd to a problematic degree. Like, there is, if you name a tool, I probably have tried it. Because I'm just such a nerd for things and I like to see what works and test it all out. But Notion works so well for my brain, because while I am a tech nerd, I'm much more right-brained. I'm much more creative. I'm deeply strategic, but I am not like any of my clients who like do Notion builds and build templates for people. Sometimes for fun, I've shown them my boards and they're just like, this is so stressful. This is not like, you are not using this as effectively as possible. But that's why I love it, because it is so flexible that I can make something that works for my brain. So it's where I house my client dashboards. I have all of my templates for messaging builds. I house all of my sales campaigns. I have a database for all of my content. I've started to get creative about using Zapier to connect. I now have the transcript of all of my client calls gets sent to ChatGPT with a prompt that then pulls out content ideas and automatically populates it inside of my Notion dashboard. It's a little overwhelming. I might have to turn it off, but like I said, tech nerd. But it is truly, it houses my ideas. It is where I house my to-do list. It's where I have my SOPs and do onboarding for my VA whenever, like, it's everything. And it's so flexible that it works for my neurodivergent, often chaotic brain.
No, I have not had anybody yet in 28 episodes mention Notion.
That is amazing. What have other people said?
Oh, it's a lot of AI, but then a lot, are just like Google Workspace. That's their go-to.
Fair.
So yeah. So that's awesome, because I've tried Notion, but I have not dug into it. And I use my CRM for everything.
Got it.
So I have not, dug into Notion probably the way I should, but
I mean, no shitting on yourself. I mean, whatever, live your life if you want to, but there is a learning curve for Notion. So I also like to say that it has taken me years to get Notion, and I still make things like it has taken me years. So the other thing I love is that it's allowed me to here's the minimum viable product of like my project management system. Here's the MVP of that. Great. And then I build it as I go. Here's the MVP of the client dashboard. Great, build it as I go, right? Eventually it's prettier. I mean, now I'm obsessed and I share, they're gorgeous, but that wasn't day one. That was not day one.
Good for you. Okay, so do you have habits or routines that you do daily to stay focused and productive?
I do. Like I've said, huge nervous system nerd. And so I can tell when my nervous system is shot, and it drastically it mitigates my ability to create content. I can pretty much always show up for clients. That one is pretty much, even on my worst days, I can do that. But all the other parts required to run my business just gets so much more time consuming, and quality of output is just worse. So, are you familiar with the artist's way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I do morning pages, every morning, which for anyone who's not familiar, it is 3 pages within 45 minutes of waking up. Ideally, it's the first thing I do. I'll usually get up, make coffee, take the dog out, then morning pages.
So
Uh,
have you heard of Natalie Goldberg? She
no, I have
talks about
not.
she talks about monkey brain, which is similar to
Yes.
morning
Yes.
pages. No, you
Yes.
just let it
You just
go.
write. You just
Yeah.
write.
Yeah.
You get all of it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And now
Yeah.
she has writing prompts that you can get. Anyway, so
Oh,
I'm obsessed
incredible.
with that. Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. So I do that, and then I do a breathwork practice. I meditate, and then I work out. I rotate between running and strength training. So I've got a bit of a long process in my mornings. And I change it based on, it's not perfect every day, but that's my ideal: is wake up, take dog out, coffee, morning pages, breath work, meditate, movement of some kind. And then I get into my day. And I try to read at least 10 pages sometime during the day of whatever I'm reading. Sometimes that is fiction. Sometimes it's a business book. Right now, it's an amazing book about sales that I love, that I got from a little free library on the street. So I'd like to read 10 pages a day. That's usually in the evening, but it keeps my brain percolating on fresh ideas and outside of the echo chamber of social media and emails.
Yeah. Good for you. That is a good day starter. You do a good job.
Thanks. It's taken me years of finessing, and it's changed over the years. Yeah.
And it will continue to.
Correct. Exactly.
So what's one piece of advice you'd give somebody that's thinking about moving into solopreneurship?
Okay. I would have them sit with themselves around their relationship to what I call the point of no return. Because entrepreneurship, solopreneurship is going to test you in ways that you cannot predict, no matter how many podcasts you listen to, no matter how many books you read. It will test you in ways universal to all of us and ways so uniquely specific to you. And so whenever I have clients who are deep in the angst that happens of oh my God, when is it going to work? And it feels like nothing's working and I don't know. And what do I, whenever I'm in that moment with them, I genuinely ask them okay, cool. When do you want to give up? Normally that jumps them out of their angst. They're like, what do you mean? Because most of the time they're like, what do you mean? I'm not going to give up. And I'm like, okay, then why are we sitting in this drama? Your feelings are totally valid and welcome. Let's go scream into a pillow. I will scream into a pillow with you to make you feel less weird about it. Let's do it. But we tend to get ourselves as solopreneurs we just spin on our problems, and we waste so much energy being frustrated with things that are inevitable. And I don't ever want to invalidate someone's feelings. Give yourself space to process the real difficulties of entrepreneurship, right? But also be ready to check yourself on, is there genuinely a point when I'm going to actually give up? Is there a point where I'm going to say, I'm actually going to get a day job? If so, cool, let's define that point. If I don't get my first client or make my first sale within the next 6 months, I'm going to say I gave this project my all. I tried, and I'm okay and at peace with letting it go. If that's the case, fabulous. Give yourself that timeline to know so that you can know I tried it, I gave it my all, and I'm at peace with not having this. Fabulous. Entrepreneurship ain't for the faint of heart.
That's for sure.
But if you're not, if you sit down to say, is there a point when I'm going to give up? If I posted every day for 3 months, sent an email every day for 3 months, whatever, right? Choose your metric. If I did X every day for 3 months, for 6 months, for a year, and I didn't get a client, I mean, that would be crazy making, right? But are you going to give up? If your answer is genuinely no, okay, welcome to the land of crazy entrepreneurs. You're past the point of no return. Great. Remember that when you're in the mind drama, that is real, that is valid, that is all of those things, but remember it, because when you plug back into like, okay, this launch feels hard, I'm upset, I'm frustrated, I don't know what to do, but I do know I'm not going to give up. Okay, take a breath, do what you need to do to feel better, even 1% better, and then get back to it, because you know you're not going to give up, so have
Don't
that
listen to
conversation with
them.
yourself first.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. That's my one piece of advice. Sit yourself down with that conversation. You will save yourself so much time. And if you realize from day one, I'm actually not super into this, like, or I'm going to try it out. Let's see. Like, maybe don't go invest a ton of money into coaching or courses. Like, maybe don't. Maybe don't do that yet until you know, oh, okay, I like this. I actually am going to nothing happened. I have no results, but I actually like this. I'm going to try for another 3 months. Right? Don't invest from day one. It's counter terrible sales advice, but actually it's not, because
It's not.
I don't
Yeah.
want anyone invested who doesn't actually want the end result, you know?
Yeah. So I've always said that you have to make the decision that you're going to do it. And if you make the decision, but you have a plan B, oh, but I have a plan B, then probably you're not going to make it because you have not made the decision to make it.
Yeah. You're 1 foot in, 1 foot out
Yeah,
with that place.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a difference, just to be clear, at least for me. I don't know if you feel this way. So to me, there's a difference between, like, I'm being smart, like, with, if you have a family, right, there's a difference between I have a plan B of, here's my financial safety net, and we have, $15,000 of expenses saved, which covers X amount, and I'm going to keep going with a side job if I,
Yeah.
right? Like, there's a huge
Yes.
difference between
Yes.
I've seen so many people make terrible financial decisions that get themselves in a bind.
Yeah.
Especially with overinvesting in coaching. I say as someone who's like technically could be in the business coach realm, but I've seen so many people make those mistakes. So I do think it's important to note that, like, financial responsibility and having a second job doesn't mean you have a plan B and you're going to fail, as long as it's like, this job is my plan to currently meet the bills while this job funds what I'm building. This job is what I do so I can get to. And there's a different line of thinking. So just to be
Yes.
clear,
So I
there's a
should have
difference.
followed up with, I think there's 2 more steps. The second step is believing in yourself. You have got to, at a deep level, believe that you can do it. And then the third step is you then have to take action.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
So you can't go take a bunch of courses and wait till you're smart enough to do it. Yeah. You got to believe you can do it and then take action on it. So,
Yeah. Yep.
all right. Do you have any upcoming launches or anything special you want to share?
I already mentioned my Empathy Edge one-on-one is it's existed in the background for years, but I'm actually putting it front facing, not as referral only, invite only. So the Empathy Edge is a 6-month one-on-one container where we design the messaging for a signature offer and build a sales campaign for a signature offer, run that campaign for the first 90 days. Most people make their investment back within those first 90 days. And then we either add a second offer into your ecosystem and sell and launch that in the next 90 days, or build upon the success and start to turn it into an evergreen sort of system. So done with you sales system building, sales messaging kind of work. So the Empathy Edge is rolling out in September.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll put that in the show notes, ladies and gentlemen. Okay,
Fabulous.
where can the audience connect with you and learn more about what you do?
Yeah. Business-whisperer.com is my website, and across Instagram, Threads, those are the main platforms that I hang out. I am at Chelsea.Quint. The best place, though, to hang out with me is in my newsletter. There's a link to it on the website, and I'll also share it if you want to drop it in the show notes. But getting on my email list, I drop in very raw, rough, here's what I'm working on, here are the trends that I'm seeing, here's what marketing I'm trying and what's working, what's not working for me, for my clients. I drop all of that weekly so you can get really kind of up-to-date insights on what's working and what isn't, and see my mistakes
Awesome.
in real time and learn from them with me.
Of you to share that so that they don't
Yeah.
have to go through it.
Exactly.
Awesome. So, Chelsea, it's been a pleasure having you here today. Thank you so much for being on.
My pleasure. Absolutely delighted to be here.
All right, everyone. If you have not subscribed yet, please go do that now. And while you're there, you might as well write a review and like us, and we'll see you next episode. Thanks so much.